Right now, though, we're going to talk with a couple of folks from the ARC here of Calhoun County. Leah Ortiz is back with us once again. Good morning.
Good morning.
Nice to see you. You made it here in one piece.
Absolutely, I did.
Yes, you look radiant. This nice weather must agree with you.
I was ready to get out of the house, Tim.
Also today, one of the board members from the ARC, Lynn Eberhard, is with us. Good morning, Lynn.
Hi, good morning, Tim.
It's nice to see you today.
And nice to see you as well.
Well, I know we did this recently, but why don't you tell us what the ARC is all about, Leah, and we'll start there.
Absolutely. So we are a 501c3 nonprofit in the community, and we serve individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities as well as their families.
And how are some ways that you do that?
Yeah, primarily through advocacy, ensuring that individuals with disabilities understand what their rights are, not only to access, but to education, on a public forum, and then also families, making sure that they have the supports that they need to care for their loved ones that might have a disability.
Sure, and there are a lot of resources around, a lot of people who want to help, and you kind of act as a conduit to help hook all those things up together, right?
Absolutely. One thing that we want to make sure the community understands is that people with disabilities, whether they're intellectual or developmental, they also want to be included and a part of the community. And so what we do is ensure that that can happen, reducing stereotypes and stigma barriers, any biases that might exist, as we really try to eliminate those so that people, regardless of disability, have the opportunity to participate in the community in which they live.
You know, a lot of people, you might look at them and make that judgment that, well, they're never going to be able to hold a job. We'll do the best we can for them, but, they're really not going to be able to do anything. And then all of a sudden they get an opportunity and you see how wrong you were to think that. And you see changes in their attitude too. It's really a great thing.
Right. It's amazing. There's a lot of implicit bias that individuals have, and we make assumptions of what individuals are capable of just by looking at them. And really, when we're doing that, we are inflicting our judgment on them without even knowing a person. All of the people that we serve, but so many people in the community have such skills and talents and so much they can bring to the community. And we need to give everyone a chance, regardless, again, of disability, but especially individuals with disabilities. They have enough stacked against them with the judgments, the bias, etc.
Yeah, and you just don't know. We see day in and day out in our history cases where people maybe had a shortcoming in one area. For instance, they lost their sight, and then all of a sudden they compensate by drawing from within themselves and do something that the rest of us never thought of or can't accomplish. Or we see these people. There was a recent thing in the news where this young man with Down syndrome sunk a shot from half court, and the video's going viral. But and the coach and the players said, "Hey, I've seen him do it a million times and knew he could do it." And bam, he put it in. And just to hear this kid talking after the game, just like the NBA stars and stuff, it lifts your whole spirits, doesn't it?
Yeah, and in cases like that, I hope that the publicity is on banking that shot from half court, not because he has a developmental disability, for instance, when we draw attention to individuals with disabilities, oftentimes people have sympathy for individuals with disabilities, and that's not the way it should be. Individuals don't want sympathy that have disabilities. They just want to be treated like everyone else and be given the same freedoms and respect that everyone else does regardless.
Well, and I referred to how most of us will make a judgment call, and it's really, just because we don't know. I mean, we haven't been in that situation. We haven't been in those shoes. We don't directly have a family member or somebody who deals with a developmental disability or is a caregiver. Lynn Eberhard, you have experience in that area, and that's and you're a board member at the ARC. Tell us a little bit about your family and your story.
I have a daughter, Michelle, with some intellectual disabilities, and the ARC has provided her with some wonderful opportunities to gain some employment, various areas, so she can make a decision of where she would like to work one day.
That's excellent.
To be able to, sustain and live on her own.
And you see a change in her when she gets to go to work?
Oh, I do. She's excited about going to work.
Yeah, I've seen it too, and it's a great thing. And you know, I just encourage business people out there, you know, see if you've got something that could work, and let people like at the ARC know that, hey, I think I might have a situation here that could really benefit somebody in our community. Let's see if we can talk about it some more.
Absolutely. It's a win-win. You know, employers, everyone I think is struggling with hiring right now. It's difficult to find people. In the ARC, it's a little different because we have people who want to work and we have people who want to gain skills. So it's a win-win when we can link up with an employer or an organization that has a need, and we have a need to provide skills to these adults with intellectual or developmental disabilities. And when we partner together, it's an amazing experience.
Well, coming up Thursday, it's next Thursday the 7th, and then Saturday the 9th, it's sort of a two-part, I don't know, we call this a workshop?
Sure.
Yeah, so it's a workshop called When We're Gone. And it kind of ties back to what I was saying before. You know, if you haven't really been in this situation, you really have no idea how to help or how these people might feel, people with these developmental and intellectual disabilities, and what they need. And, you know, that caregiver that's there right now isn't always going to be there. Do you struggle with that sometimes? Because you're still relatively young, but do you struggle wondering what's going to happen someday?
Yeah, I do, Tim. You know, with this workshop that was presented last year, it set me into action to do some things that I need to prepare the supports and resources for Michelle. So after I'm gone, my husband are gone, there will be others that can continue on to assist her.
Yep, and so that's the whole reason for having the workshops. Well, let's start with Thursday. What are you going to cover on Thursday?
Yeah.
It's from 5 to 7 p.m. So you can get out of work and head over. Where's it going to be?
At the Cool Family Community Center.
Okay.
In that main room there. And the first thing we're going to talk about is the MyAble accounts, and that's through the Department of Treasury. We'll have a representative there to talk about this unique savings plan for individuals with disabilities, and enables families and individuals to save money tax-free, so that there's kind of a, you know, as anyone else would want, a nest egg available to them in the case of an emergency.
So it's sort of like a developmental disabilities Roth IRA or something.
Essentially, there is a cap on how much money that they can put into it, but it is tax-free. So, and the cap has actually grown over the past year. So someone from the Department of Treasury will be there to discuss that with families and how to set one up, because it is free.
Great. That's a good thing.
And then we'll also have that same evening the National Family Caregivers Program, and that'll be presented by Carewell. And Carol will come in and they'll talk about what are the resources available for caregivers in our community. Carewell is a great resource for that. And so they will talk about what is available, respite opportunities, support groups, who to go to. And that is often a question that we get a lot when we receive calls at the ARC is, my loved one was just diagnosed, you know, is there a support group that I can seek out?
Mm-hmm. But by the way, is there a cost for this?
It's free. It's completely free both days, and we provide meals. So we'll serve some pizza on Thursday night, so you can come straight from work, and we'll provide your dinner. And then on Saturday morning, you can wake up and come on over to the Cool Family Community Center, and we'll provide you some breakfast. We'll get some donuts and bagels in, so that you don't have to worry about that before you get in.
And Saturday session's 9 in the morning until noon, and we were talking with the ARC of Calhoun County. Leah Ortiz is the executive director. Lynn Eberhard is one of the board members, and they are doing some seminars, seminar, workshop. Basically, it's going to be a little informational session on Thursday, February 7th, 5 to 7 at the Cool Family Center. And then again, Saturday, 9 to noon. Now, they're not the same ones. They're two different ones, right?
Right. Different topics each day.
Right. Let me ask you this now. Let's say we have a person with intellectual or developmental disabilities in our family, and you know we're doing a good job. We're caring for them. they have a decent life. All of a sudden, there's a terrible auto accident. The caregivers, the guardians, unfortunately, are gone. What happens then? Do we have cases where there was nothing in place?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that for most individuals, if they do have a guardian, an individual with a intellectual or developmental disability, and they do have a guardian, whether it's a parent, a loved one, an aunt, uncle, extended family, or a third-party representative, that's as much future planning as they've done. They really haven't put into perspective what if something happens to the individuals that is a guardian. Oftentimes there is the availability to put a standby guardian in, and so that's kind of like a backup person. But then once we do those things, it's kind of like a will, right? So once we put it in place, we tuck it away, we forget about it, and we don't take into account if things change, and we don't keep it updated. So that's really important. So in the event that a guardian of an individual passes away unexpectedly, and there is no standby guardian identified, essentially that person would go back to the court, and oftentimes if there's not another loved one or caregiver that would like to assume the guardianship that the court approves, third-party, often paid guardian is put in place to oversee that individual.
Someone who doesn't even know the person.
Doesn't even know the person.
Who's never met them.
Never met them. And, you know, the scary part about it here in Michigan is under the DD guardianships, developmental disability guardianships, there is really no requirement for a third-party guardian to ever meet the individual they are a guardian over. That is something that, as the state of Michigan and as an advocacy organization, the ARC, we're working on changing that mental health code to make that a requirement. But as it stands right now, there is no requirement, and that is very scary.
If the court appoints a paid guardian, who pays that guardian?
The individual. The individual does. So oftentimes, if they can, I should say, so oftentimes individuals with IDD, intellectual or developmental disabilities, do receive either Social Security or other benefits. And oftentimes those benefits, or that quote unquote income, will be looked at, and a percentage, or sometimes all of it, will be paid to that third-party guardian. And it covers, there are things that it can cover. It can cover housing if necessary. It just depends on the individual and what organization or agency is providing guardianship.
But a lot of their income, which could be SSI or something like that, is just going to go to a paid guardian that they may never even see and have never met. Much better situation if you plan, if you look at family. I mean, do you guys talk about this, Lynn, as far in your family, and how you would handle it if, heaven forbid, something should happen to you?
Yes, we do. My husband is a standby guardian in case something should happen to me, and then we've got things into place if something happens to both of us, you know, at the same time, if we're on a vacation, for, you know, other guardians, other supports for Michelle to assist her with her decisions.
And I do want to say, Tim, individuals with IDD or intellectual or developmental disabilities don't need guardians. So keeping in mind, I represent an advocacy organization, and we believe that all people, regardless of disability, have capacity and have the ability to be competent in their daily lives. So guardianship should be seen as the last resort. It is the most restrictive option, and a lot of families don't understand that there are other options that are less restrictive that really still create independence and freedom for individuals. And that's part of what we'll talk about in the When We're Gone workshop on Saturday, is we'll talk about what are the alternatives to guardianship. Too often, educators are recommending, for example, as students that are exiting the educational system, that that's the next step, that parents need to seek guardianship. And that is a myth. That should not be a recommendation. We never want the most restrictive settings for individuals. So what we'll do on Saturday, February 9th, at When We're Gone, is talk about what are those alternatives for individuals.
And again, it's free, and there'll be food provided at the Cool Family Community Center, in the big Lou Boyd room?
That's right.
And it's totally free. It's Thursday night, 5 to 7, and then again Saturday. 9 to noon, 2 different sessions. What if we can't make them both? Will we still benefit? Well, we won't be lost, will we?
Well, you can always call the ARC. We're willing to set up individual appointments with anyone. I do also want to mention we'll cover Social Security benefits as well on Saturday. So please register online at our website or give us a call at the ARC.
The ARCCalhoun.org, that's the website. The ARC, A-R-C, Calhoun.org. And you get all the information you need and register online right there for next week's events. And Leah and Lynn, thanks again for being with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Best of luck. Hope a lot of people take advantage of it.